has done, the efforts he has made to destroy rule of law, higher education, immigration, and a number of other things. Been a very busy boy in a relatively short period of time. I got reading about our brothers and sisters that lost their lives in Australia on the past weekend. The 15 beautiful souls that lost their life for celebrating their religion on the first day of Hanukkah, which is just absolutely atrocious to even say that. But it was on Bondi Beach, which I had the pleasure of visiting. But it's been longer than many of you have maybe been on the planet. I think I was there 24 years ago. it's uh, it's a truly magical, beautiful area, and the act of heroism of that one gentleman who was described as an Arabic um, uh, a fruit seller who tackled one of these shooters, these assassins, who were, as the story develops, it seems that this father and son team went to Mindanao, which is a southern area of the Philippines, recently to get some training. And that part of the Philippines has long been known for Islamist terror groups or sympathizers running impromptu training centers, and the Philippine government tries to root them out. But it's if you are familiar with the Philippines, it's spread over a very large area, and that's falls into the easier said than done. And if you are not, if you don't have the sort of funding, the billions of dollars that Donald Trump has put into his personal stormtrooper patrol, for instance, and the Philippines a, a beautiful country full of beautiful people, but with a more modest budget that we can't expect them to eradicate all uh, Islamists uh, or the terrorist variety, excuse me, from their shores. And it seems that these two individuals, only one of them still above ground, went there for perhaps some firearms training, and more information will become available. But it really, I mean, we all heard about it in the confluence of horrible events running up to the holidays, where these 15 beautiful people were killed. The two students were killed in Providence, Rhode Island, right down the way from me, at Brown University, and also in Syria. One translator and two troops who are guard troops were killed by a terrorist. And it's a reminder that, you know, ISIS was at the forefront of our news cycles and thought processes and concerns a decade ago and longer. And but it's a world where we are uh, overwhelmed with information, ever more so every single year. And I think it's fair to say that ISIS has sort of fallen out of our, on our top five list. Excuse me, of concerns. And this is a reminder that perhaps not so fast. It also brought me back to you can't say, or if you can, I'd love to hear it. Who's to blame for Islamist terrorism? That's it is a sort of a unfathomable question, existential question to tackle. There are, like everything in life, there are gray areas and multiple factors that go into what radicalize these terrorists, these Islamists, and some of it you can trace to, like with many religions, you can trace it back to the most radical part of that religion, whether it's clergy or an imam or whomever that helps to radicalize vulnerable youth. And Osama bin Laden was with Al Qaeda was an inspirational figure that, with the help of Ayman al-Zawahiri, who another gentleman that we're very happy has gone on to the other side, but they were able to motivate and radicalize, in the case of bin Laden, a number of younger true believers, in their case, mostly from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. These two gentlemen are, if they had the training, and there has been an increased amount of anti-Semitism in Australia, and we can be, some of us in the U.S., whether we are in touch or by relation, marriage, or otherwise, closer to the Jewish community, are aware of these things, but Australia is still a very long way away. And I think the human condition kind of it it creates blind spots, even in a world where you can get on a plane and be anywhere else in 24 hours, and on Zoom, I understand even faster, that we can be excused somewhat to when ISIS falls out of our main area of concern. But I went back and reread essays from 2 months ago, where I was writing about CZ, who is Cheng Tung Zhao. And I'll just go with CZ because my Mandarin is a little rusty. You'll excuse me. That is the man that is the founder of Binance. He was arrested, convicted, and sentenced in the U.S. He paid a $4 billion fine, and he was subsequently pardoned by your president, Donald J. Trump, after he parked $2 billion in the accounts of the crypto business that is controlled by Donald Trump Jr., his brother Eric, and the Wyckoff sons. So quid pro quo, that's not Chinese, that's not Mandarin, but that means something for something, roughly translated. Latin class has also been more than 40 years. It's troubling because CZ, this man who is now free and presumably either at one of his homes in Canada, China, or otherwise, he received a full pardon. He can travel where he wants. He is let's call him the 20th most wealthy individual in in the universe. CZ, our friend. You know, it's it is the Doge bag in chief. Elon Musk is number one. Mark Zuckerberg is two. And then, depending on who's compiling the list, it's the Google founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, and you know, and when you get to the in your boy Jeff Bezos planning his third and fourth weddings, undoubtedly in the very near future. When you get to the neighborhood of all of these guys are, or the tech bros that I just listed, are all starting with Elon. His net worth is close to $500 billion, half a trillion. So he's, you know, 400 odd $1 billion. And the other tech bros that I listed are going down. Zuckerberg and the rest are 300, 200, you know, but money. Um, these are powerful men. CZ are this nice gentleman, the Chinese Canadian founder of Binance, is I think he's probably more in the at 20th in the world, or 21st or 22nd most richest, predominantly men, except for Walton's at Walmart. Are He's probably in the neighborhood of 50, 60, $70 billion. Enough probably to get through and get the kids through college. What distinguishes CZ above Doge bags and Meta bags and other truly annoying human beings that are prostrating themselves or bending over for DJT? What is most troubling about CZ and Binance? A part of his plea agreement was that he was no longer CEO, but he'll always be founder, and he's he's still running it. So call him, give him any title you want him to be: Secretary General, Entertainer in Chief, or Monty Python. The, the boy, the piss boy that runs around and carries the bucket behind the king. Whatever title you want to give him, he's still running the ship. What he has facilitated over the years is the financing of terrorist groups across the world on a regular basis in a way that is very hard to trace because it's hashtag crypto. Shocking, right? Largest crypto platform in the universe, right? So what he has done, what he pled to, not what I'm accusing. I'm not making up things. This is what he pled to before he was pardoned by your president, Donald Trump, is facilitating financing for, talk about a VIP list, ISIS, Al Qaeda. You've heard of Hamas. This gentleman facilitated financing for those groups and other smaller ones. Let's see, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ, who are bad guys who, along with Hamas, they were involved in the operation in October of 23 when they went into the to Israel and murdered and raped and abducted Israeli citizens. The PIJ was a joint venture partner with Hamas in those atrocities, and what they have in common besides Islamist Islamist training, hate for the state of Israel and Jews, and the most virulent anti-Semitism in this side of the moon, is they are united by a relationship with CZ. He financed Hamas, not out of his pocket. I'm not suggesting that he put forth his own money. I don't know that he did or didn't. It doesn't seem to profile, and he didn't plead to that. But he facilitated the transfer of money through the crypto exchange that he owns to Hamas, including in the weeks leading up to the October 23 attack. So it isn't you don't need to be a creative thinker to do the math on that. Same for ISIS, and same for subdivisions in Africa and in the Middle East of different versions of Al Qaeda and ISIS in the Arabian Peninsula and Al Shabaab in Africa. He's helped all of them receive funds, and they need training, they need weapons, and most of all, they need money. And whether they're getting it from uh, various people that Donald Trump is currently in business with at that time, I'm not suggesting I don't have personal knowledge of UAE or KSA funding for terrorist groups. I don't have personal knowledge of that. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, lots of money went into Al Qaeda at the time that Osama bin Laden was in Bora Bora and then in Pakistan, being protected by the Pakistan security services. So that was proven back by Dick Cheney, R.I.P. That nexus was proven, done deal, not hyperbole, not rumor, not fake news. So these two gentlemen, these are two guys. Only one is still above ground, but these Islamic terrorists, these anti-Semites that shot 15 or killed 15 and shot many others in on the beach on the first day of Hanukkah. Did they receive funding via Binance? I don't know the answer to that. I will make my best humble efforts at all times to do the research. I'm also curious, just because I'm. I hope you're sitting down. I'm suspicious of the intentions of a president whose children have $2 billion of Binance money parked in their accounts. World Liberty, Liberty Financial, whatever version of that you want. I am suspicious, and I wonder if after the end of the year, when the pardon occurred, I'm wondering aloud, if there is some visibility on matching forgiveness. If somebody pays a fine through a Justice Department that was, at that time, not a corrupt institution, and the money goes presumably into some part of the U.S. Treasury, can the president, after giving a full, not a conditional pardon, a full pardon for CZ's crimes. I wonder if he could reverse any of that $4 billion fine. And if so, whether any of that money, those additional funds, assets, or cryptocurrency would find their way into the Trump organization by some other means, because we know they have the directions already. Because there's already $2 billion sitting there. That is beyond dispute and beyond belief, beyond comprehension, and just another chink in the rule of law, in a world where that fire hose of corruption is flowing 24/7. So yeah, I so that's what brought me off of my larger year-end Trump chat, on trying to give, well, first and foremost, give grace. I'm not doing thoughts and prayers ever again in my life, particularly when you hear that these students at Brown, some of them had been in other school shootings as middle schoolers and high schoolers, and now they're going through it again in at university. So we'll, in a graceful year-end time of family, why don't we say, for the end of this year and 2026 at least, why don't we just say, fuck thoughts and prayers, okay? And why don't we adopt actions? Reasonable gun control, reasonable background checks, all the things that the GOP, your Republican Party, fights vociferously against before they even read the text, because they are they are pawns in a scheme where campaign finance from the gun lobby, the gun industry, and related industries that don't want to see any curtailment of Second Amendment rights, which is actually a well-regulated militia, not kids with guns out of bubblegum machines. But we're not going to fix that this afternoon. I am, as I mentioned before, the attack at Providence is close geographically, and also somebody who I love dearly, and puts her head down in this house on occasion, uh, lives within the neighborhood. Her neighborhood was on the film showing the escaping shooter, the black clothing clad individual in Providence, who has yet to be apprehended unless I missed something in the last couple hours. So it's very close to home, very close to home. I have another beautiful young family member who, in Florida, on a number of occasions, more than 5 or 6 years ago, had to do the shelter in place thing in high school, in middle school, and attended a school that was named also for the so Marjorie Stillman. I just butchered that. The school in Florida where that school, that atrocious school shooting took place over a dozen years ago. But in any case, not thoughts and prayers, but love with the families that lost people in the shooting, uh, strength to the leadership in Australia, Mr. Albanese and his cadre to do better, much on anti-Semitism. And we need to do a lot better in this country on anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and racism as well. We have a long way to go, and we're going to learn some valuable lessons coming from the other side of the ledger as New York Mayor Mondani takes office officially on the 1st of January. There will be a lot of hate based on who he worships coming in his direction. So there will be lessons for all involved um, to maybe tone down the rhetoric a little bit. Or podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis that are understandably concerned about the increase, as everybody should be, the increase in anti-Semitism, but don't, if not in the same breath, sentence, or paragraph, acknowledge that people that worship a different religion are also under tremendous pressure. And whether it's Catholics and whatever, the Islamophobia is as a big a stain on the United States as anti-Semitism. And we're just reminded of it at different times when the atrocities are targeted at different groups. And whether it's in Tel Aviv or in Gaza. So it's the end of the year. We can be hopeful without being thought and prayerish. We can take meaningful steps. We can go back to punishing companies that align themselves with the Trump administration's racist rhetoric. Companies that stand up and say, "I'm with the president. We're eliminating every DEI program that we ever implemented at our company, at our school, at our university, at our community center, at our hamburger stand, because Donald J. Trump, convicted felon, Epstein file regular, racist rhetoric bloviator, said that he doesn't like DEI. So I don't say bad things about humans and that, but anybody that thinks that DEI is not a benefit to a university or a business is an idiot. Anybody that believes that those principles of inclusion do not eventually, not overnight, do not benefit businesses in the long run, just they're reading the wrong information. They are either stuck in a Fox News silo and they don't want to get out. People don't want help. What can you do? But it is a indisputable fact that universities, organizations, corporations all benefit from diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, which eventually leads to diversity, racial diversity. It doesn't mean quotas. Affirmative action, I don't even want to mention it because your boy Clarence Thomas has put such a stain on that term that I don't know that we really need to address that. Not when we have a Supreme Court that is hostile to the Voting Rights Act and We have learned and relearned just in 2025 alone in the United States that we are not in a post-racial society. Never were. Elected Donald, excuse me, wash my mouth out with so you elected, we elected Barack Obama. Congratulations to us. We're great humanists. We are wonderful. We should pat ourselves on the back, and we should all tell each other about how many for crackers like myself should pat ourselves on the back and say, I've had black friends all my life. So what's the problem? No. Watch what the Supreme Court is doing. They are shredding the Voting Rights Act. They may leave one tiny leg of the stool standing so they can pat themselves on the back for making an effort. But looking at racial gerrymandering that's going on all the time and looking at the behavior of elected officials towards diverse communities, we're not there yet. I believe I support the argument that some of the justices made that there should be not a time limit, but at some point in the future where we can agree in a sense of a congressional Congress sense, um, that we have made substantial progress on racial tolerance, on diversity and inclusion. When we've made substantial steps on that, okay, we ain't there. Probably not going to be there. We're not going to be there in my lifetime. I mean, I'm planning on sticking around for another couple of days, but if I am graced with grandchildren, maybe that. But for the Supreme Court to stroke each other on the wherever they want to do that, if they want to celebrate their the tremendous progress of the of Americans and the judiciary, the Supreme Court and elected officials in racial tolerance, you are. I see that Donald Trump just reclassified marijuana today in some. I haven't read the full story, but now that it's not treated like heroin, probably a good thing. But if you believe that we've made so much progress that we don't need to keep some sort of supervision on the systems where there is racist creep, there still is, whether that's in redistricting, whether that's in apportionment, whether that's in at the state level, we have to allow the states to, which they have a great deal of power right now, but to keep an eye on higher education and things like that to make sure that there are fair opportunities for all Americans, regardless of race, color, creed, national origin, sexual orientation, and whether they, you know, whatever. The amount of racism that still exists in this country is staggering. And anybody that thought that we were making progress, guess what? Donald J. Trump probably, by the time he's done, assuming that he serves out his 3 remaining years on his term and that he's not impeached, impaired, or otherwise meets uh, some amendment in the Constitution, will have set our country back by a decade. not an empirical study, one man's opinion, but what he's done to race relations and trust, and his assaults on DEI, and his assaults on inclusion, and the absolute destruction of immigration and naturalization. All of those things that he's done, which I'm going to touch on in a different way throughout the remainder of the year, he set us back at least a decade. Thank you. DJT, yeah, you're just freaking fantastic. So yeah, move along, sir. Move along. Move along. In a healthy way. We don't. You are clearly declining. Cognitive decline is one thing. We wish you health, if not eternal health, then good health for the remainder of your natural life. Absolutely, because you're a human being. So we don't say mean things to 80-year-olds, whether their name is Donald or Joe. We say things like, thank you for your service. But at this time, we're good. So I know it's hard for you to leave any stage because you're a narcissist and you like clearly the length of time that I've been talking just now, and as I tend to do, maybe I'm in love with my own voice too much, right? Um, uh, I don't. Uh, I don't go on as long as your boy DJT does, but he loves the limelight. He wants to be in the center. He wants to be exerting influence and power because it makes him feel good, even as his what might have been after Trump 1.0, some sort of legacy, is now destroyed. And I doubt that he's going to go on a recovery, a salvation mission, because that would require him to acknowledge, like Susie Wiles did, acknowledge mistake and fault, you know? And, JD Vance is trying to line himself up for, to be the successor, the number one chosen next mega dude or gal. Um, I, of course, would not mega, but I would like Dick Cheney's daughter. If I had to choose a Republican candidate, I would certainly lean towards Liz Cheney. If I had to choose, I'm not voting for a Republican candidate, but if I needed a honest partner in peace, as it were, you could do a lot worse than Liz Cheney. It's not it's not Mace or Grace, my characters in my ongoing saga that will be premiering on the 1st of January, sort of documenting the continued rise of Zoran Mondani in a satirical and an absurdist manner for everybody's entertainment, not least of which is my own. But who else would you put forward if you're a a Democratic Party voter like I am, and you wanted to pick genuinely, you wanted you were asked your opinion in some forum to help select the next GOP representative. You're MAGA? I mean, oh, you're not MAGA. Uh, I'm going to suggest a non-MAGA, non-revolutionary, but a like a serious person, like that went to school and can spell and do math and stuff like that. I think Liz Cheney would be a wonderful choice. I'm going to sneak a quick sip of water. The other person that I was putting forth mm, in a playful way in some writing I was doing back in September, maybe, was Usha Vance, right? Infinitely more intelligent than her husband, certainly more photogenic. We don't say, you know, it's not polite to say a beautiful, stunningly attractive woman because we don't do that anymore in 2025. So, but she is um, brilliant, accomplished, two beautiful children. The impediment of JD is her husband, but whatever. But as my stories provided at that point in the in my absurdist tale, then there were other people making choices about who the successor in interest to Donald J. Trump would be. And in that particular story, it was Usha Vance because both Vladimir Putin, uh, Xi Jinping, and uh, Mr. Modi uh, conspired to have Ms. Vance, Mrs. Vance, for now, but as the story described, that changed in a creative, and absurd way. But who would you put forward? What would be your idea of a Republican leader of Congress? I just put forth two um, uh, female options, potential candidates, but that's just me because I think that we should have only female candidates for every freaking office until we get our shit together, which is going to be a long time. But that's my prejudice. If I have one prejudice, it is that we should be led in this country from the court, from the Congress, and from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue by only women of color, period. 50 years. And then we can let well, 50 years, certain crackers that are staring at you in the screen won't be around to talk about it. But we've been screwing it up for long enough. Why don't we, in the immortal words of, is that Eddie Murphy? No. How about shove the fuck off? Right? Right. White Christian nationalists, you. Bye. Great. Wishing you all a most beautiful evening. If you have the opportunity to say grace or have a good thought for members of your community that were injured by the violence in on Bondi Beach in Sydney, do so. Have a good thought because it's I don't know, the 12 days of Christmas. I can't do that kind of math. So that must have 12 days of Christmas must have started. And Hanukkah is Tuesday, Wednesday, is halfway over, right? Always starts Sunday night. Yeah. So it is more than halfway finished. So have a good thought for those that have been impacted by that, for the families in the parents of the students in Providence, Rhode Island. Have a positive thought for all of those people because we have to do better. It won't. We're not going to be doing better tomorrow. And keep an eye on CZ, DJT, and Don Jr. and Eric and a young Baron who I don't know the extent of his involvement with the family crypto business, but I'm going to figure out a way that I can see if there have to be disclosures since the fine CZ Binance fine was logged into the system somewhere in the DOJ or Treasury. I'd love to find out how many instances were when pardons were granted. You heard Trump saying that he should be reimbursed for $200,000 in legal expenses for the crimes that he did commit already. Just ludicrous, but it's that kind of world. I would love to, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper to see if there's any chance that he could have, after a pardon, said, well, I understand that the fine was paid, but that was a Biden hoax. Therefore, I want you to reverse all or part of that fine because it was illegitimately gained by the government. Pamela Joe Bondi, would you kindly reverse the Bitcoin wire transfer, Coinbase transfer from Binance to the federal government? And oh, by the way, if you accidentally drop half of it to Eric, then that will mean that Liberty Financial will now, instead of having $5 billion parked in their account by KSA, Dubai, and our friend CZ, will now get maybe up to 7 billion because it's expensive out there. And, 5 billion is not enough to cover the costs of just living a life as a Trump potentate in training. So, pleasure, as always. Wishing you a beautiful evening, as evening has arrived in northern Massachusetts behind me, which is that's pretty much east facing. So that's kind of a cheating sundown a little bit. Pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be connecting tomorrow. Thank you very much.